On behalf of the McGraw-Hill companies, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this celebration. This is the 2009 Harold W. McGraw Jr. Prize in Education. Our first award presentation this evening is to Sarita Brown. Crafting and implementing effective public policy is an art, not a science, and the best practitioners are those who bring a spirit of creativity and innovation to the solving of an important societal problem. Sarita Brown is one of the best. She began her career at the University of Texas building a national model for promoting minority success in graduate education. In 1993, she moved to the highest levels of government when President Clinton appointed her as executive director of the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanic Americans. In 2004, Sarita drew on her extensive experience as a researcher, a policymaker, and a practitioner to establish Excelencia in education. This program is a Washington, D.C.-based institute that carries out an ambitious research agenda documenting Latino success to and success in higher education. Its findings are then systematically organized so it can make them useful to policymakers. Information is also disseminated to colleges and universities, which are assisted in setting up programs targeted at Hispanic students. Benchmarks are established to measure progress. Particularly innovative part of Sarita's approach is to work through strategic partnerships with colleges and universities and with Hispanic organizations so as to extend Excelencia's reach. At least 15 colleges have agreed to use the new benchmarks to track their success in increasing the Hispanic presence in higher education. Sarita Brown has demonstrated creatively by linking research, policy, and practice in new ways.
Thank you all so very, very much. It is a thrill to be here, to be a participant in a tradition that is family-oriented, seems absolutely appropriate given the cause and calling of Excelencia in education. I stole my own lines. I didn't even remember I'd said some of those things. So let me say to you, think with me for a moment what it was like in the year 2000 when the census data was released. The fun part was Ricky Martin's performance at the Academy Awards. Jennifer Lopez, who can forget? And all those fun facts about salsa outselling ketchup, and if you tally how many tortillas are eaten in this country, we're all eating them all the time. But at the same time, what did appear in popular discussion on the pages of the New York Times and your local newspaper was the growth of the Latino community, the youth that is the Latino community, and what we've already talked about, the condition of education for the Latino community. How one responds to that is a question that we should all ask. What a small band of people did in Washington, D.C., was decide to take our place at the table and do what we know how to do, which is to focus, be clear about action, and be honest about what makes a difference. I have the pleasure of being able to name those people because they're here in the room. Excelencia in Education was co-founded by Deborah Santiago, our Vice President for Policy and Research, and informed and inspired and sustained by our colega en todo, Margarita Benitez. Estas tres, may I indulge me, wise Latinas decided that it was in our ability to change the way we consider this proposition. It is one driven by three assumptions. We would build on strength, not only our own in terms of experience and commitment and conviction, but the strength of the Latino community, hardworking, family-oriented, and fiercely committed to the future of this country. we would act on that absolute convergence, which is that education is the pathway to success. There is absolutely no one in the Latino community that faults that idea. And the recognition that there are differences, but they need not divide. Being informed about those differences and being generous in your response is what we have discovered is a cornerstone of the practices that make the biggest difference. And I have good news for you. Across this country, there are educators and policymakers who are committed to building the pathway to success, who recognize that even in the academy, you can combine heart and head, that you can construct learning communities which allow a student to both pursue their vocation in terms of how they'll earn money and what their academic interests are, that have outreach efforts that recognize when Mijo is the first in this family to go to college, the whole family is going to college, and financial aid that understands the reality of a Latino community that wants to pay its bills when they come in the door. These are known quantities, and we're just getting started. We're 5 years old to have, on the 5th anniversary of your work, recognition such as this is not only momentum, it's jet propulsion. And we are delighted to join this tradition. To Terry McGraw and his family, thank you. Thank you for your belief in education, for your respect for the educator, and for the creation of this tradition. To my family of the heart, muchísimas gracias por todo. And to my wonderful daughter, Amara Ken Brown, who inspires me and allows me to pass on the legacy of my family, my mother and father. Muchísimas gracias a todo.